Welcome to a special edition of the OTP, the Titans 2019 schedule. I'm Mike Keith. Let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and take a look at who and where the Titans will play in the 2019 season. Tennessee will open at Cleveland on September 8th at noon. The Titans have never opened with the Browns. Actually, the last time this franchise opened at Cleveland was 1971. Titans were in Cleveland 2 years ago, won that game in overtime. The Titans come home in Week 2 for a noon match with Indianapolis. Tennessee has not played Indy in September since 2015. Week 3, Thursday night football on the road in Jacksonville. Second year in a row the Titans and the Jags have met on Thursday night. It's the fourth time they've played a Thursday night game since 2014. September 29th at Atlanta, a noon tilt. Titans' first game in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, the Falcons' new venue. Home for Buffalo on October the 6th. The two teams also met in Week 5 last season in Western New York. Week 6 brings a late afternoon game in Denver. This organization has not won in Denver since October 1987. Week 7, back at Nissan Stadium, a 3:05 start against the Chargers. And like Buffalo, the Titans faced Phillip Rivers and company during the same weekend last season, Week 7. Tennessee stays at home to face Tampa Bay at noon on October the 27th. It's the second meeting between the number 1 and number 2 picks from the 2015 draft. In the 2015 opener, Marcus Mariota threw 4 touchdown passes as the Titans won over Jameis Winston and the Buccaneers. Week 9 to Charlotte for a noon start at Carolina. Titans have not played at the Panthers' home stadium since 2011 when Cam Newton was a rookie. Tennessee won that game 30-3. November 10th, certain to be circled. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs come to Nissan Stadium at noon. Titans have won 3 in a row in this series, but Kansas City's last win was actually in Nashville in 2013. Week 11, finally a bye weekend. The Titans' latest bye since the 2016 season when the team didn't get a break until Week 13, which is actually the last possible bye weekend. Following the off weekend, it's back home and back in the AFC South as Jacksonville comes calling for a late afternoon kick on November the 24th. December opens with a road game at Indianapolis, and then it's off to Oakland on December the 8th. The Raiders have won 3 in a row in this series, but Tennessee's last victory was at the Black Hole in 2013 in the final minute of that game. Titans finally see the Texans on December 15th at Nissan Stadium. It's the latest first meeting of the season between these two AFC South rivals since Houston came into the league in 2002. Nissan Stadium is the site of the Week 16 showdown between the Titans and the Saints. The last time Drew Brees and company came to Nashville was December 2011, and that contest was decided on the last play of the game. And finally, Week 17, December the 29th in Houston. Remember that games in Weeks 11 through 17 are subject to being flexed to Sunday night. That's the rundown of the Titans schedule. I bring in my colleagues Amie Wells and Jim Wyatt now for commentary. Amie, to you first. As you read it, as you see it, as you process it, what jumps out about the Titans' 2019 schedule?
The first thing that jumped out to me was how well balanced this schedule is. There aren't huge chunks of time where you're on the road or at home. You are mixing it up a lot, and there are 11 noon games. So that really gives this team the opportunity to get used to playing at one time, really get in some sort of a rhythm throughout the season, and I think that that's hugely helpful for any team to not be changing up their routine every couple of weeks. You're able to stay pretty consistent throughout this schedule. The other thing that really stuck out to me is that the division games are in very interesting pods. You have them in week 2 and 3, 4 days apart facing Indy and Jacksonville, then weeks 12 and 13, which are right after the bye, and then weeks 15 and 17 are the 2 games with Houston to end the season. They're not as mixed within the whole schedule. They're in very clear beginning, middle, and ends. Those are what stuck out to me.
Jim Wyatt?
A couple of things that jumped out at me. I guess 3 out of 4 to open up the season, including, as Amie mentioned, games within a couple of days of each other. I mean, Indianapolis in week 2 and then at Jacksonville in week 3, which is obviously a challenge. And then obviously the 2 games, 2 of the last 3 against the Texans. A lot of times you see schedules bunched up where teams play each other in a close proximity, but to see them at the end of the season play each other in 2 of 3 games, really odd to me. And then a little bit disappointed. Can't lie that no more primetime games. This team was in a couple of Monday night games on the road last year at Dallas, at Houston, had a game at home against the Jags. I thought maybe this was the time where the Titans would get a primetime game. And I'm not counting the game against Indianapolis at the end of the season, which was a flex game, but only 1 game at Jacksonville on Thursday, September the 19th. Thought maybe this franchise would be put in the spotlight a little bit more.
Cleveland at Cleveland to open. Thoughts?
Good and bad. One is that place is going to be jacked up, and we all know what Cleveland has done this offseason and some of the acquisitions that they've made, and that place is going to be hyped up. But people always fired up at the start of the season in Cleveland, so you know that going in. The good side of that is maybe it takes them a little while to kind of get their mojo and to kind of get everybody on the same page. So maybe it's better to face them early rather than later. From a weather standpoint, I'd rather go to Cleveland in September than I would in December. I know that.
Amie?
I'm just glad they're not playing for free beers for the city anymore. That's a little less of a motivation. But I think that I completely second what Jim says in that they have so many new acquisitions, so many new pieces of the puzzle. Are there a lot of superstars there? Absolutely. Will they all be completely gelled together in week 1? I don't know. That could be a good thing for the Tennessee Titans.
New head coach as well.
Right.
Certainly factors in. You think, although I think Freddie Kitchens is going to do a good job there. Week 11 bye. Bad, good, or indifferent, Amie?
I weirdly think it's good. People look at this schedule and say, wow, that's a pretty late bye week. A lot of times those bye weeks are used to rest some players, get some guys back from injuries. Having a bye week that's a little later, hopefully, God forbid, if something bad were to happen, that could be a chance to get some players healthy, get them rested, get them ready to go to make the final stretch going into the playoffs.
I like it too. I mean, I'd rather have one a little bit later in the season than I would too early, because as Amie mentioned, it gives you time to get some guys back and healthy again and ready for the stretch run.
All right, let's take a look at the schedule by month. Titans open with 3 of their first 4 on the road at Cleveland, after the Indianapolis home game, at Jacksonville, and at Atlanta. Turning to October, 4 games in Atlanta. In this case, 3 home games. And in September, when you could be the underdog in all 4, in October, you might be the favorite in all 4 of these games because of not only who you're playing, but where you're playing them. We'll see, but it certainly flips back towards the Titans' way. November is the month Titans only have 3 games. They get the bye in week 11, the trip to Carolina, the home game with Kansas City, and then Jacksonville after the bye on November the 24th. And then a 5-game December, beginning with road games at Indianapolis and Oakland, home for Houston and New Orleans, and then at Houston to end the season. You would love it, if that last game was for the AFC South Championship.
Absolutely, you would. You love seeing those games when it's a division game. It's for all the marbles. It's a great way to end 2019.
What's the toughest stretch to you, Amie Wells?
I say the month of December. Looking at it, you're coming off of back-to-back road games, and then you're going into Houston, New Orleans, Houston. If New Orleans has anything to play for, you know they're going to bring it, and they're going to want to be a playoff team. And obviously with Drew Brees and everything that happened to them in 2018, I think they're going to want it pretty bad in 2019. And then seeing any divisional opponent, any opponent really, within 2 times in 3 weeks is tough. The Houston Texans, that's going to be a difficult one. So I think that the Titans are really, really going to have to put their big boy pants on in December.
Jim Wyatt, your toughest stretch.
I'm going with the stretch there that starts against Carolina, at Carolina on November the 3rd and ends at Indianapolis on December the 1st. Obviously, Carolina on the road, I don't know exactly what to expect from them, but we know Kansas City is going to be good with Patrick Mahomes coming in here, facing the Jaguars again, and then a game against the Colts. I mean, we all know about this team's struggles against Indianapolis. It has to get over the hump. I think the one good thing about that is the bye week breaks it up.
All right, let's talk about in terms of the primetime situation. Amie, Jim mentioned he's surprised just one primetime game. I think all Titans fans will be.
Yeah, especially after the season that we had last year, having the London trip and having 2 Monday night games. It seemed like this team was really starting to get some national recognition and get some of that momentum. Seeing this, frankly, is disappointing. I'm optimistic that as the season goes on and the Titans have a little bit of success, some of these games towards the end of the season will be flexed.
A lack of respect card they may be able to play for the Titans in some point, some way?
I think so. I mean, certainly, guys, everybody wants to have a chance to play in prime time because, your family can see you, the fans can see you. It helps you get recognition for Pro Bowl. Not that that's the number one goal, but you like for your peers to see your work. And, the fact that this team is not being put in the spotlight, I think certainly that will be brought to the attention of some players, but you have to earn it. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we have not seen any schedule, have not seen Houston's schedule as we record this, but I do think that those teams have earned it. I mean, Indianapolis earned a playoff spot, and Houston won this division last year. I think, the Titans, you've got to earn your way to get that, and hopefully that happens this season.
The tough part about that early stretch is that the Indianapolis game is going to be emotional. Everybody knows the Titans have not beaten Andrew Luck. It's going to be important to find a way to try to win that game in week 2. And so whatever the result, it's emotional, and then you have to turn around and go to Jacksonville. That's a difficult call right there.
There's no question about it. I mean, that's a tough stretch. I mean, it's going to set the tone for the season. Now, can you recover if it doesn't go like you want to? Sure, there's a whole season, but you can also set the tone in a positive way. This team can find a way to go off to a good start, get the monkey off the back against the Colts, get a little bit momentum going into Jacksonville. It would kind of be the jump start to the season. But that first stretch, I mean, anytime you have 3 out of the first 4 on the road, it's a challenge.
Amie Wells said at the 11 noon games, after week 3, the schedule is very rhythmic. Do you agree with Amie that for the football team at least, that's a good thing?
I think so. I mean, the issues that go with travel and the Monday night games and the short week and, the London trip, I mean, all those things, the herky-jerkiness of that type of schedule requires a lot of juggling from a staff standpoint, from a preparation standpoint. And when you know your games are at noon on Sunday, I think it does make it a little bit easier. Again, the hope is in weeks 11 through 17, this team is in a position where it's playing well, and you get some of those games flexed to night games, and then you deal with some of that stuff that goes with a schedule that's not as consistent as it is with a noon schedule. But you got to put yourself in a position to do that.
Amie, I think the winner in all of this might be the Titans fans, because if you look at the home schedule and how it sets up, it's a very good schedule to come watch games at Nissan Stadium. You don't have weeks stacked on top of each other it's hard on people when there are 3 straight home games, or it's hard on people when there are 4 December games. It's hard, too, when some of the better games are not the good weather games. This doesn't seem to have that, particularly knowing that the preseason you have New England and Pittsburgh. I mean, it's 10 pretty good home games.
Absolutely. I mean, starting with that preseason schedule, that's remarkable. And that's just going to be so much fun, and what a great way to kick off football in Nashville. But then to look at some of these games and to be hosting teams like the Chargers and Kansas City in October and November, that's football weather,
right,
folks. Like, those are the games that you want to watch when there's a chill in the air. Like, that's perfect. and to not be at home for the entire month of December, especially during the holidays. We know that's hard for people to come out. But you're going to want to see the Houston Texans at that point in the season. You're going to want to see the New Orleans Saints, and you're going to want to see the Tennessee Titans take them on. So I'm really excited. If you're a season ticket holder or going to be a season ticket holder, this is the type of schedule you want to see.
Yeah, it helps the fan base without a doubt. Let's run through the schedule one more time before we depart on this special edition of the OTP. Titans open at Cleveland September the 8th. Week 2, home for Indianapolis. Rematch with the Colts from Week 17. Week 3, well, it's Thursday night. Jacksonville, in Jacksonville. 10 days later, at Atlanta. You do get the extra bye there to get ready for the Falcons. So 3 of the first 4 on the road. We turn to October. Buffalo is a home game at noon. On to Denver for a late afternoon tilt. And then back-to-back home games. October 20th at 3:05 against the Los Angeles Chargers. October 27th against Tampa Bay at noon. On the road at Carolina. And then home for Kansas City. So the Titans, 10 straight games to begin. They get a bye in Week 11. That Week 11 is November the 17th. November 24th, Titans back at home, back in the AFC South against the Jacksonville Jaguars at 3:05. A little surprised by that start. Noon start for the first December game, literally on December 1st, at Indianapolis. Travel to Oakland for a 3:25 start, and then conclude with noon games. At home against Houston on the 15th of December. On the 22nd, it's New Orleans, and then ending the season at noon at Houston. So that's the 17-game rundown for the Titans. If you are looking for single-game tickets, they are on sale now. Group tickets, different plans available, and certainly season tickets. TitansOnline.com right now. You can figure out exactly what you need for tickets. Again, TitansOnline.com. For Amie Wells and also Jim Wyatt, I'm Mike Keith. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of the OTP as we talk the 2019 Titans schedule.